All right, hello and welcome to the Miracle Morning for Network Marketers audio series / podcast, depending on where you might be finding this information and this content at the moment. My name is Pat Petrini. I'm the co-author of the #1 best-selling book, The Miracle Morning for Network Marketers. And in creating this book, we reached out to some of the very top network marketers in the world, and we interviewed them, some of the top performers, both people that have been around the network marketing world for years and even decades, as well as people that are fairly newcomers that have just been around for the last few years, but have had extreme success in those just those last few years. And we reached out, we interviewed them. That's what this series is all about. You're going to hear interviews from a number of different people. And in these interviews, we dive into not only their tips, strategies, techniques, things that have really accelerated their business, but also, and of course this was sort of the thesis, the theme of the book is the Miracle Morning for Network Marketers. We delve into their morning routines and their daily rituals, things that they consider to be critical for success that are really important for them to do every single day. And what we found, the whole concept of the Miracle Morning is that not every successful person does all of these different things every day, but just about every successful person does some of these things every day, has some of these daily rituals, oftentimes morning rituals, and so we dive into that in this audio series. Now, if you're not familiar with the book, you can check out the book, of course, at Amazon. Just go to Amazon and search for The Miracle Morning for Network Marketers. You'll find it right there. And then, of course, you can also go to our website. You may be listening to this recording right there on our website, but if you're not, if you're finding it somewhere else, go to tmm4networkmarketers.com. That's TMM, like the Miracle Morning, FOR, networkmarketers.com. Again, my name is Pat Petrini. I hope you're going to enjoy this interview. I know you're going to enjoy this interview. You might want to have a pen and paper handy, and on with the show. Thanks a lot.
All right, well, welcome everybody to one of our episodes here. I'm really excited to be on the phone with none other than Todd Falcone, and I'm not sure if you might be listening to this call, this interview that we have here on our website. You might be listening to it on our podcast. You may have found it originally through the book, The Miracle Morning for Network Marketers, but however you landed here, I think you're going to be glad you did. I think we've got some great stuff we're going to cover with one of the longtime professionals and trainers in the network marketing space. Todd, thanks for being here. Appreciate you blocking out the time.
Pat, it's great to be here with you.
Hey, so you're here in Arizona with me as well. We're on the opposite sides of each other of town. But tell everybody, for anybody who doesn't know you, of course at the end we'll you've got a ton of great content out there online on YouTube and different places. But for anybody who maybe hasn't been exposed to your content yet to this date, how'd you kind of get introduced to network marketing? Kind of walk us through a little bit of your backstory.
Yeah, I actually got started in network marketing about 26 years ago. Was going to school at Long Beach State and wanted to get a good job, I think like everybody else does, and thought I was actually getting recruited into a job and got invited to what I later found out to be an opportunity presentation for a network marketing business. And I didn't even know what network marketing was. I'd never heard of it before. But I sat through that presentation and, just looked at it and went, wow, this makes sense. What's not to get about this? You represent a product that you can retail and make some profit on. You can build a team and earn a percentage of the efforts of a team as big as you can grow it. And that just made sense to me. I didn't have any, prior conceptions, or I didn't have anything else to go on. It just made sense conceptually. So I started that journey not knowing anything about business and just being kind of young and dumb, and struggled for my first couple of years and really kind of grinded it out and didn't really see a whole lot of success, and actually quit my job 90 days into my first business. Had to move home and live in the bunk beds at my parents' house, which is kind of humbling, and regroup and cut up my credit cards and kind of restart. And second time around I came out and did it part-time and kept my job and got myself in front of some other successful people that knew more than I did, and just kind of leveraged myself a bit using leadership that had more experience, and started plugging away and just kind of kept my head down. And within a couple of years, I was able to start earning enough money where I could get out of my job, and I quit my job and went on to continue to grow my businesses for a long period of time. And then about 14 years ago, I had a company that I spent about 11 years with that went out of business, and some guy asked me to speak at one of his seminars. And I was like, well, what do you want me to talk about? He said, dude, just come and talk about how you build your business, how you recruit, and how you do your stuff. And I said, okay. And so I did. I never really planned on being a speaker or a trainer. That wasn't ever part of the plan. It just kind of happened that way. And now for 14 years straight, I've been teaching network marketing and traveling all over the world and basically sharing my story and my success strategies that worked well for me in the field.
Yeah, and I'm glad you mentioned that, because I was going to ask you about that. You know, you spend a lot of time training people all over the network marketing world in different companies and speaking at a lot of different company events and all sorts of different things. And that, I think, is one of the interesting paths that a lot of people don't even realize. Now, of course, a lot of people are getting into network marketing. They're looking to make an income in whatever that opportunity is that they maybe were introduced to. But there's all these kind of interesting little paths that you can take in the network marketing space, and becoming sort of I don't know if the best word is generic, but a trainer not necessarily attached to any one company or whatever is a whole other career path that if people can figure out this network marketing thing, that's a whole other option opening to a lot of people that are out there doing well with that. So one of the things I wanted to ask you is if you could elaborate a little bit on when you had said sort of round 2 versus round 1 for you. You know, round 1, you kind of went all in really fast. You said you maybe jammed up some credit cards, had to move in with mom and dad. And you had mentioned on round 2, where you were surrounding yourself with some more successful people. You were kind of doing things a little differently. You hung on to your job. You were working more part-time. Like, maybe if you elaborate on what are the 2 or 3 things that you really think made the biggest difference as to when you kind of reapproached it, what allowed you to kind of get to another level that you weren't able to hit the first time around?
Well, the first time around I actually had a lot of really great training and exposure to some really powerful stuff that did have an impact on me. But the biggest challenge was I quit my job and I had no assets or nothing to back me up. So when you're trying to build a network marketing business and you have no money and no money coming in, you get into this desperation mode where you're just trying to, hide your car and put food on the table. So,
right.
And I just started to get behind, and it's really difficult to build a business when you're totally financially strapped. I mean, I was back up against the wall as far as you can get, but I just didn't, I was fighting, but it was actually kind of too late for the fight, So it's like it's like a jet that runs out of runway. I just ran out of runway, and so I had to make a decision. I moved home and took a job with my parents' radio station, and it was interesting because I spent 2 years building my business, and I had freedom, but I didn't have money. It was like I had this cool, I'm self-employed, I'm around all these very positive people, but I'm broke. And then I went into a job where I was around a bunch of kind of, quite frankly, a lot of negative people that were just not really big thinkers and minimalists that, just doing their job 9 to 5, and as soon as the bell rang, they ran. And it was interesting. I attacked that job as an account executive at the radio station with an entrepreneurial spirit, and I crushed almost every single person in that entire market within a very short period of time, and had everything to do with the training that I got from my first network marketing business. But within 3 months of me working in that job, I was like, man, I got to find a network marketing business because I got to have some sanity and some kind of outlet for my entrepreneurial desire. And so I found what was interesting. I found 2 different companies. One, they're actually still both in business. One's $1 billion company. The other one is pretty small. But the 2 presentations, I had one guy that brought me some information. I said, hey, I've got network marketing experience 2 years. I said, bring me everything you got. And I remember we met at this office building, and he threw everything on this boardroom table. And it was every product, every brochure, every sales aid, it filled up the whole table, and it was overwhelming. And this other woman came to me, and she had this thing called Business in a Box, and it was really small and simple. And she showed it to me, and that made sense to me. It just seemed a lot more simple. So I actually went with that one just based on the presentation. And what a couple things that were different, I would say, that in that second round was, number one, I did this business part-time. Yeah. And I had enough money coming in where anything that I was making from my network marketing business was extra. It wasn't like I had to rely on this money to pay my rent or survive. So I just had a level of relaxation that I didn't have in the previous venture.
Right. Sure.
That was probably the biggest thing, and I think a lot of people think that they can come in and just do network marketing full-time out of the chute, and it's not really easy to do that. Even if you have a lot of experience, it still takes time for volume and sales and all of that to accumulate. So I wouldn't recommend anybody quit their day job until they get their network marketing business to a point where it's paying their bills.
Yeah, well, I think that I think there's pros and cons, in both of those situations. But I definitely, having been in some tough times in the past, Emily and I as well. When you are like really tight like that, it changes the way that you sit in front of a prospect. When you sit in front of somebody and you're like worrying about how you're going to put groceries on the table next week, your intensity level is, it's hard to be as great of a presenter and as great of a recruiter as you need to be when you are that emotionally tied up in whether or not this person is going to say yes, because you're literally like trying to pay the electric bill with it. So that definitely creates some tension, causes some problems. So you've got a 20+ year perspective on the network marketing world now. I'm just kind of curious from your perspective, what do you kind of feel like are some changes that you've seen, and what are some things, and it may be positive or negative. I was watching some of your videos the last few days to prepare for us getting together to chat for this interview, and some of the different things where you mentioned some of the concerns you have, direction of things that are going, some things you're excited about. What are any kind of trends that you've seen, anything that you've seen things change, or just things that you are seeing happening right now in the network marketing world?
Well, I think for the most part, what we do to build a network marketing business really hasn't changed as long as I've been in the business. I think it's still the same business it's always been. It's just that we now have resources at our disposal that we didn't have before. The internet, social media have changed quite a few things. The availability of information is so much more than it was before. So keeping people focused. There's so many other potential distractions out there that didn't exist 20 years ago. Right. You didn't have social media. You didn't have the internet. You couldn't just go surf around and start looking for stuff. So, I've interviewed 5 women for a series that I'm doing in the last 2 weeks, and I think 3 out of the 5 women have built their entire business almost exclusively on Facebook. Right. Right. So that's changed. I mean, it's a way of getting into a networking group, I guess, on multiple steroids, because it's so big when you have that access to so many people. But that's the nature of what we do hasn't changed. When I started, we were doing business opportunity meetings in an office, or we'd hand somebody a VHS tape or a cassette tape, and then fax on demand came along, and that had its little round for a little bit, and then conference calling, and then the internet comes along, and then email and websites and video, and so the ways that we show the business to people have changed, the access to those technologies, but it's still the same thing. You're sharing a product or service with somebody, and you're building a sales team, and it's based on the relationships that you have with people. Yeah. Yep. Absolutely. So, and what about? This is kind of jumping topics a little bit, but I'm always interested in whenever I'm talking to different leaders, and I've asked a lot of people this same question on these interviews: is if you were having to choose a company to align yourself with today, and certainly not naming company names or anything, but what do you personally consider to be sort of the key elements that you would look for? Or what are deal breakers that would be like, nope, definitely not that that one or whatever? What are some key things that you really think are critical in choosing a company to align yourself with? Obviously, the product that they're marketing or service that they're marketing, is there a viability for it, the price pointing of it? And I mean, it doesn't have to be the cheapest product in the market for sure, but is there a demand for that product in the marketplace? An existing demand. That's obviously important. Trying to sell something where there's no demand. If you just look at supply and demand, that's got to be there. One of the most important things I look at is ownership and their history and what they've done in the past, and have they run successful companies? What's their background? What's their track record?
Right.
Because in the end, what really makes or breaks you, obviously you got to make your own decisions and take your own actions to go build something, but the person that controls your check is the person that's running the company and the decisions that they make. So that's really, really important. I don't have a preference for compensation plans, whether it has to be a binary or unilevel or hybrid or whatever. Most of the compensation plans today pay out approximately the same amount. They're just structured a little bit differently. So I know some people say, I only work binaries, or I only work this, and that's never been my thing. I'm just trying to find something that's good, solid, stable company. Now the other thing is, and then you're asking me. So my preference personally is not to do a startup. We talk about timing in business, and timing is everything. I mean, timing is important, but I'd rather have a company make some mistakes and kind of create a path for themselves before I come in. Right. Because you go build something and you start from scratch. You don't know if it's going to take a hold in the marketplace. It might be a really good idea, but so many companies start and actually never go anywhere. So
for sure.
That's really important. So if I was starting a company today, it would not be a startup. It would be a company that might be 3 to 10 years old or more.
Yeah. I tend to be on kind of the same page as you. It's I think there could be the right circumstance where a literal brand new startup could get my attention or whatever, but I tend to be on the same page. I'm a little bit more conservative when it comes to making those decisions, and I want to see a little bit of track record to make a decision off of, instead of just everything being brand new and see what happens.
Yeah, I'm not against startups. I suppose if the right situation came along, that's fine. But generally speaking, I don't do startups. Right.
And what about any, may or may not be something that comes to mind, but any deal breakers? And I ask this just because everybody always kind of has different answers to this, and I think it's kind of interesting for people that are hearing it to kind of hear what is the selection process of these different leaders in the network marketing world. But any deal breakers that come to mind where you were you know what, if this was true, then I definitely probably wouldn't be able to align myself with that company. I'll give you an example of of one that I kind of tend to use a lot. Is one of the things that I pay a lot of attention to is to the volume ratio between distributor or marketer consumption versus customer consumption. It's way out of whack all the way in terms of the distributor to where it's all internal consumption. That's kind of a red flag to me. I want to see a lot of customer consumption. Is there anything like that pops out at you as this is a really critical piece to me that could be a deal breaker or anything like that?
Well, I mean, the comment you just made, that goes to for me, the viability of the product and the marketability of the product and the demand for the product. And if you have something that's a legitimate product or service that people want, then you're likely going to have a situation in that company where you have customers, not just distributor-only consumption. If you're in a situation where it is distributor-only consumption, that's a recipe for trouble long term, because from a regulator standpoint, they don't like to see that, and you got to. I mean, it can't be just distributor-only consumption. I don't know if there's if I looked at a company and there was a massive difference between, let's say the product costs. Let's say it's a monthly auto ship, for example, is $100 BV, right? Bonus volume or per whatever it's called. Depending on the company, most of the time it's bonus volume is typically the term, but it costs the distributor $175, and there's a massive differential between the volume that you're getting credited and versus what you're getting paid. That's a little bit of a red flag for me. I realize that you have cost of goods sold, and some products are more expensive to manufacture, and they can't give you 100% product to BV ratio, but I've seen companies where you're paying $200, but you're getting, so my customer that I brought to the table pays $200 for the product, but I'm only getting credit or commission on as if it was $100.
Right, right.
There's always, in most companies, there's going to be a slight differential, but if it's a huge one, then that's a red flag for me. I think more than anything, the red flag is like, who are these guys running the company and what are they doing? And then what are their practices? Like, what are they allowing to occur in the field? Are they creating a lot of politics and issues just based on how they do stuff? I don't want to get into a conversation on that on this call, but there's some companies that just do stuff that just create an awful lot of attention through,
sure,
really, like, they're just allowing their distributors to run rampant and do things that really aren't exactly kosher. And
sure.
when they allow them to do that creates a situation for the entire company to potentially suffer.
Yeah. So let me ask you this, like, because I think it can be challenging for somebody who's pretty new to the network marketing world. Most of the information that they are exposed to is going to basically be like what's on the company brochure, what's on the website. What are just like one or two key things that you think that somebody should really look at? Like for example, you're talking about the owners. How do you know if the people that are running your company, what do you look at besides when you go to the company website and there's a little drop down, it says owners or management. You click on that and you read it. Oh, look, they're obviously very experienced because it says how experienced they are right here. Is there for the brand new person that's trying to make sure they're making a good decision, what other step would you encourage them to do besides hitting up the company website?
All right. So here's what I do, but it's also a challenge. So I will definitely go Google the owners.
Yep.
But the challenge with Google is here's the challenge. A lot of people think using Google is due diligence. And anybody can put anything and get it to rank in a search engine.
Right.
So you got to realize that you can find anything on the internet and it may not be the truth.
Right.
So, a lot of times people hear about a company and then they'll Google the name of the company and they'll see something scam or something whatever, and then they'll use that as their decision when it's just somebody throwing up a blog post so that they can generate leads to their
sure.
blog. But I can go Google the name of a CEO of a company, and if I search long enough and I know what I'm looking for, I'm not looking to go on somebody's blog about their opinion. I can go and see, past lawsuits or other things that might come up in a Google search that may put up a red flag for me. So
right.
I did that one time. I was looking at a company and I Googled the guy's name and I found a court case where he was being charged for pedophilia, and I'm like, I'm not going to be a distributor in a company where this guy's being charged for pedophilia. So
right.
That was definitely a deal breaker in that instance. Yeah,
absolutely. Well, and yeah, not to try to put like you said, put a negative spin on this conversation or whatever, but I think it's important. I mean, I think most of the companies out there in our space are great companies run by great people with great intentions, but I always think it's important for people to get a little bit of that information or how to really do some due diligence on the company instead of just going off their company website. So,
well, by the way, one other thing you can do is you can run background checks on people.
Sure.
So you can go pay to run a background check and find out about somebody.
Right.
And
these different websites, gosh, I'm forgetting some of them. Intellius or whatever is one of them. There's a couple of others where you can run various background checks like that. Yep, very, very valuable information.
Absolutely.
Okay,
especially if you're going to be investing a bunch of time in it.
Yeah. I mean, that's why I spent so much time on this question and I asked so many people this. Is that it's one of the most important decisions that you'll make. I mean, as a new network marketer, when you're jumping in, you're going to be investing your time, your credibility, like everything into this deal. Now, not that everybody makes mistakes. Most people don't pick one company and end up being with that one for the rest of their life. People make changes, things change. Like you said, a company you were with for a long time went out of business. Like, things happen. It's all good. But it really is a decision that is worth putting a little bit more time in than just going to the opportunity meeting, getting excited, and signing up the next day. It's worth doing a little bit of more due diligence than that. So,
absolutely.
Okay, jumping topics again. Of course, we are our primary subject here, and the thesis of our book here is the Miracle Morning for Network Marketers, and kind of highlighting the not just morning routines, but daily routines of top network marketers out there in the space, and kind of what are those things that really play a critical role in their day-to-day success. Success, whether that be on a financial, business, personal happiness, family, any of those types of rituals, not just business rituals. But so I'd love to ask you about that. Is what are some of those kind of things that are an important part of your day every day? From some of them might be some morning things, some afternoon things, some evening things. But what are those things that are critical to you? I mean, you're super productive. You're putting out tons of content all the time. You're doing a lot of these different things. So what are the different things that you kind of try to make sure that you're working in each day to be able to stay on top of all that stuff?
Yeah, I'm pretty routine in my days. I mean, some of them are a little bit different than others, but typically the first thing I do when I get out of bed is I go work out. And that workout is either at my gym or there's a local hike that I do that's about an hour and 15 to an hour and 30 minutes. It's a really good cardio workout. I tend to get a better cardio workout there than if I'm on a treadmill or something like that. So when I do that and I'm working out, I'm typically listening to some type of personal development material on my iPhone and it's either something I've downloaded and put onto my phone, or it might be one of the many different podcasts that I listen to. And
what are some favorite podcasts that you tune into?
I listen to Tim Ferriss's podcast. I listen to the Social Media Examiner quite a bit. I listen to Entrepreneur on Fire. I'll listen to Grant Cardone, Gary Vaynerchuk, Dave Ramsey. If I want a little entertainment, I'll listen to Joe Rogan, Smart Passive Income, TED Talks. Most of the podcasts that I'm listening to are business, marketing, entrepreneur, social media. There's a handful of network marketing podcasts. Typically I'm not listening to network marketing podcasts specifically.
Sure. Uh-huh.
Not that I don't like them. I just, I'm very skilled in the network marketing arena. Not that I can't acquire more skills, but I'm looking for areas for me personally that are going to serve my greater business needs. So a lot of network marketers would have, there's a lot of value in listening to a network marketing podcast because they're hearing stories and interviews and whatnot from different successful people in the field.
Right. Okay, cool. So you're hitting your cardio, listening to some different podcasts or different audio programs, and then where you kind of go from there?
Well, the second part of that is I'm always looking for a nugget that I can apply in my business. So if I hear something in the podcast, I'll pull on my hike, for example, or even in the gym, I typically have my iPhone on my left arm in a strap.
Yep.
And so if I'm walking, I hear something, I'll literally, while I'm walking or while I'm working out, I'll pull it off and I'll type in a note into my note section on my iPhone. So it's something that it's like an actionable step. So I think a lot of people listen to stuff and then or read stuff and then they don't actually do anything with it. So for me, it's about it's a complete waste of time if I'm just listening to it, not doing something with it. So in fact, let's see, I have notes from yesterday morning. I was listening to a social media podcast, and my notes were on, let's see here, social media. Let's see. A guy actually, this is kind of an interesting phrase. They were talking about social media, and he used the quote, building your house on rented land. And what's so fascinating about that quote is just a couple weeks ago, I actually got shut down off of Facebook, and no idea why. Just woke up in the morning and my account was disabled.
Yeah.
It took me like 4 days to get it turned back on, and that's when we use social media platforms like Facebook and Twitter or Periscope or anything else like that, if you're really relying on that, you're
right.
building your house on rented land, and you have no control over that. So for marketers, they got to understand, like, I got to do things where I own the land that I'm building my house on. So
right.
That was just a little message, and then there was something else. A couple of other little notes on that. But I'm always taking notes from these different podcasts, and then somehow figuring out a way to apply that into my business.
Yep, I love it.
And then when I get home, obviously, well, depending on the day, but most of the time I'll come right home and hit the shower and eat some breakfast, and then I'm right upstairs to my office, sit down in front of my laptop computer. Now, by the way, my night actually started yesterday, so my morning starts the night before. I will always look at my calendar on, let's say, Monday night, and I'm getting up for Tuesday morning. I'll spend 5 minutes looking at my calendar, making sure that I'm ready for what's happening tomorrow. I don't want to wake up tomorrow morning and realize, oh my gosh, I got an interview with somebody, or I've got this going on,
right,
and then potentially miss it,
right,
or not be prepared for it. So it just takes a couple minutes, just a little, quick preview of the day, and then that way when I wake up in the morning, I know what's going to be happening rather than the day just kind of unfolding on its own.
Right. Yep.
And then after that, I come in here and sit down in front of my laptop. First thing I do is go to my inbox, delete what needs to be deleted, quickly respond to what needs responding to on email, and get through that, do a couple posts on social media, typically on Facebook, and then that's off and running. So off and running for me is.
Just out of curiosity, for your posts, do you have, if you're making an effort to, I've always been like kind of a little bit sporadic. I've always respected guys like you and Ray Higdon and some of these guys that are just, putting out like quite a bit of content every day, posting every day. Do you have sort of, when you're saying like, make it a point to make a couple posts every day or whatever, is there, some sort of source of content, the way you're sort of, coming up with what that post is going to be, or are you just kind of like checking in with everybody saying, what's up, or is it training oriented, or what do you do there?
Well, I have my personal page and I've got my fan page. So
okay, yeah.
My personal page is more personal with business. My business page is all business with a little bit of personal.
Yeah.
So I have most of my content that I'm putting out is based on life experiences, conversations that I'm having with people, something that I watched, or something. It could be a coaching client or somebody that called me or asked me a question that inspired a post, or something that I witnessed or read someplace. So I don't really have a plan as far as what I'm going to post on every single day on Facebook. It just really is what's going on right now in my life that's worth talking about and worth posting about.
Got it. Okay, cool. Perfect. And then after that, then like you said, then it's kind of just you clear out your inbox, you hit your social media, and then it's maybe from there it's whatever the day might have. There might be calls scheduled, training calls, conference calls at night, or whatever, kind of whatever your calendar looks like that day.
Yeah, and it goes through waves. Mm-hmm. There are times like right now I'm in a kind of a cocooning phase, and I'm writing a ton. I'm writing a book right now. I'm doing some rebranding on my website, so there's a lot of writing there and creative stuff that's going on there.
Right.
So, but then if I'm not in that phase, I'm in a regular mode. It might be picking up the phone and calling my contacts. I'm out. As a network marketing trainer, I don't just sit on my laurels waiting for someone to book me as a trainer. I'll pick up the phone and call people and connect with people, see what's up, what's going on.
Yep.
Talk to top leaders, see company owners. I still prospect just as much as I did as a network marketer, but I'm prospecting network marketing company owners and top distributors.
Right. Yeah, and I love it, and of course, and one of the things I love about the training that you do are some of the live call sessions that you have on your YouTube is great for people that just want to hear Todd, like just actually making actual calls to prospects. Like if you bought a list of leads or wherever you're getting some leads, you can actually just watch some of Todd making some just real actual calls and cranking them out. And there's not too many people that have those real actual calls on there, so that's good stuff. Awesome, man. Well, I'm trying to, what else? Any other topics that we haven't hit on that, the majority of people that are tuning into this are probably people that are relatively new to the network marketing space. So if there's any kind of, area of passion that you'd like to share with them, obviously I want to make sure to give everybody whatever links to go check out more of your stuff online. But any kind of closing thoughts, topic we haven't hit on yet that you would like to share with anybody?
Well, I think there's my day starts and ends with the same kind of routine. I'm not necessarily going to the gym at night, but when I'm wrapping up my day is wrapped up reading a book. It's typically in my bed reading some book that's going to serve my greater needs as an entrepreneur. And if I took a picture of my book stand, or my bed stand, I guess you could call it a book stand because it's mostly books on it. There's probably 30 different books piled up on it. And there's 3 of them in particular that I'm reading right now. I'm reading Stephen King on writing. I'm reading Russell Brunson's .com Secrets. And I'm reading a book called Ready, Fire, Aim by Michael Masterson, which is how to take your company from 0 to $100 million.
I love it. And I'm in the middle of .com Secrets myself right now. It's on my bedstand at this moment as well. But if you had to pick, 3 to 5 favorite books, and I know that's always a tough question for people that are reading a lot, but 3 to 5 books that you feel like after you read it, your life legitimately went in a even just slightly different direction. 3 to 5 books that have been maybe the most impactful on you professionally or personally. What are a few that come to mind?
Not in any particular order, but the first book I actually ever read on success, Think and Grow Rich, which is an all-time classic. That's certainly at the very top of my list. How to Win Friends and Influence People, 7 Habits of Highly Effective People, Influence, the Psychology of Persuasion. That's such a good one by Robert Cialdini. So good. So many more people need to read that. So those are some of the I don't know, the top books that kind of come to mind. John Maxwell's written a bunch of great books on leadership, like 21 Irrefutable Laws of Leadership. Right. That's perfect. It's a little bit tough to grab because there's so many. I have so many books that it's hard to. Of course, yeah. but those are and then the Laws of Success by Napoleon Hill, which is a 16-volume series. I think of it like a 1932 version of it that sits on my bookshelf and doesn't ever get touched. So I've got an actual soft cover. It's a two-volume series soft cover, so I don't have to touch it because that thing's so ancient. I got that from my grandmother. Right. And I don't even want to touch it. I just look at it and smile. Yeah, that's awesome. I have not picked up that one. I have not read any of that. What is it? The Laws of Success? The Laws of Success. Laws of Success. Gotcha. All right, awesome. Well, always curious. Always like to ask that question. And so again, if for anybody who's tuning in, where can they best find out more, get more of your stuff? YouTube, Facebook, any of the best social places for people to look for you. Number one place to find me is on my website, which is toddfalcone.com. Yep. And they can find me on Facebook. I'm very prevalent on Facebook. My Facebook page is Todd Falcone - Network Marketing Mastery. Okay. So those are probably the 2 places somebody can find me if they want to. Okay, perfect. Awesome. Well, again, Todd, I really appreciate having you as part of this project. I'm glad that we're,
able to have you as part of the book, and then this interview, which will be on our website, podcast, etc. We really appreciate you taking the time to contribute to what we're trying to do here. So thanks a lot.
You're welcome. I appreciate it, my friend.
And anybody else or everybody who's listening here, again, you might be finding this on the website, in which case you'll find other interviews like this of top 1% performers in the network marketing world, asking all kinds of different questions about how to build their business, how they see the industry, all kinds of different things. And this will very soon, if not already as you're hearing this, will be a podcast as well, the Miracle Morning for Network Marketers podcast, so you can check out all the recordings there. So again, thanks everybody. Thanks, Todd, and we will talk to you on the next recording.
Thanks, Pat.
Hey, this is Pat Petrini again, and just to wrap up really quickly, I just want to remind you that if you liked this interview, we've got a whole bunch more. If you go to our website, it's tmm4networkmarketers.com. That's TMM, like the Miracle Morning, FOR, networkmarketers.com. And, of course, if you haven't checked out the book yet, you can go to, first off, you get 2 free chapters of the book at tmm4networkmarketers.com. And then, of course, if you want to get the book, go to Amazon and just search for The Miracle Morning for networkmarketers.com, and you can get it paperback, Kindle, whatever. Thank you so much for listening, and I hope you really enjoy the rest of the content that we've made available for you. Thanks a lot. Again, my name is Pat Petrini, and I'll see you on the next interview.